Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Life of a Business Manager podcast. On today's episode, we have a very special guest with us that I'm interviewing, Rick Elmore, a former NFL player turned co-founder of Simplynoted. If you're anything like me and love stationery, you're going to love what they do, helping businesses send personalized handwritten notes at scale. I'll be sure to link their website in the show notes below. I hope you enjoy this episode. Let's get to it. Thank you again for joining the podcast. Do you want to just start by a little bit of an introduction?
Well, thanks for having me. My name is Rick Elmore. I'm the owner and founder of a company called Simplynoted. We're at least from the best of my knowledge, the world's largest provider of automated handwritten mail. We use robots to send genuine and personalized handwritten notes at scale for companies. Have a pretty unique background. Was an athlete in a former life, played college and professional sports. Had a short stint in the corporate world for 6 years, went back and did my MBA, and then had an epiphany during my MBA and started Simply Noted about 8 years ago.
Perfect. Do you want to just describe a typical day for you and what your workload entails, just for the audience a little bit? Just because it sounds like you have a variety of background, but also it sounds like you've worked in a bunch of different industries as
Sure.
well.
Well, my full-time job now is running and scaling Simply Noted. We have been just north of 2 million in revenue for the past year or so. My main focus right now is really just trying to figure out how to scale this business. It's a pretty unique business. It requires software developers, engineers, handwriting robots, printing, mailing, and getting them all to work together. But my full-time role right now is really just managing and running this business.
And do you want to explain? Because I did a little search. I know we had a previous meeting, Rick. As far as like the robotics, do you want to explain just a little bit for the audience from like start to finish? If someone was to go on the website to do like a sample order, would that be
Yeah,
okay? Yeah.
absolutely. Handwritten mail has been around for a long time. It's just been broken. Everybody has used either pen plotters or auto pens, a technology that's been around since like 1982. It just has not been updated to current technologies. And what Simply Noted has done is we've helped companies integrate and automate and scale it and make it as trackable as sending an email. So we track letters to the mailbox and we track QR code scans so people can track attribution. But anybody can use our service. Anybody can go to simplynoted.com and send one handwritten note or upload a spreadsheet and send thousands. Or they can integrate into their CRM, their payment portal, their customer service tool and automate sending handwritten notes for whatever reason. And we've just really tried to build a platform that anybody can use and we can be anywhere they need us to be to send handwritten mail.
No, that's great. And I actually love stationery. When I was looking at your website, I would totally order a sample as well. I love just the handwritten, you know what I mean? Just like the look
Yeah.
of it, like a handwritten note is what really I think is attractive to some people, I guess you
Yeah,
would
it's just
say.
rare, especially nowadays. The mailbox empty. We went through the software revolution for the last 25 years. Now we're going through the AI revolution. And when everybody else is zigging, we're zagging. We're competing in a mailbox where most companies aren't, and we're helping our clients stand out and win new business and maintain relationships through something that's tangible and real and authentic.
Yes, of course. How do you compare with other competitors? And to be honest with you, I'm not sure I know of one right now at the
Sure.
top of my head, but what stands out?
Well, what makes us different is that we've actually developed our own handwriting robot. And why that matters is that when somebody uses Simply Noted, you're actually going to get a handwritten note that looks like a person wrote it versus a robot wrote it. These older technologies really just use randomized fonts. So it's the same A, it's just placed differently throughout the letter or throughout when it's writing. And our robots, we use handwriting styles. We don't use fonts. So we use like algorithms that actually know what they're writing and write authentically. So no two notes look alike, but also add the ability for these notes to be tracked. And that's really what separates us outside of the quality of the writing is that when you say you send 10,000 pieces, you actually can track 10,000 handwritten notes, which is weird, right? Because it's a forever stamp. And how do you track a
Yeah,
forever
yeah.
stamped envelope? We've figured it out. We have a partnership with the post office, and we can actually track when these letters get pushed through the machines, and we can give delivery notifications when they get delivered that day. So marketing teams can use us to, when a note is delivered, automate a email that day or automate a text message that day or update the CRM that this person received the handwritten note. Also tracking the QR code scan. So if you sent out 10,000 pieces and 600 people scan the QR code, we know which 600 people scanned it. So really it's a handwritten note, but we're making it as digitally trackable as an email.
No, that's great. And then from a robotics perspective, not that I was going to go there on this podcast today, but I know we talked a little bit about AI and how that is being incorporated right now in a lot of organizations, right? As far as like the AI perspective, and you brought up robots just writing the handwritten notes. I'm assuming that's already incorporated in there or you're thinking about it for
Well,
future.
AI, I mean, that's kind of like a loaded generalized question. It can be used in so many different ways. We've been using large language models within our process since ChatGPT came out. And how people leverage AI right now is just really with messaging. So, like, they can take in data, when something happens. So, say somebody has a customer service complaint or a bad review, they can take that bad review, run it through a large language model, and then create a hyper personalized message with a large language model that we then handwrite on the note for them. So it feels really personal versus like a static message that says, "Hey, we sorry you had a bad experience. Here's 10% off your next purchase." We can actually mention the issue, and it just really it feels that much more genuine.
Yes, I think the genuine and the personal part is definitely important. Did you say, not to pivot, but for I know you played football. What position did you play?
I played outside linebacker, so pass rusher. I was a guy on the defense on the outside that rushed the quarterback. So yeah, I was lucky enough to have a short career in the NFL for 3 years, but I got to live out my childhood dream.
That's great. And what type of skills or discipline that you learned from football has helped you be like the business owner that you are now?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much. So I'm so thankful for my journey in playing sports growing up. I got to work on these, skills at an early age that most people don't get to start working on until they get their first job. I was on team sports at 8 years old. So learning how to play within a team, learning how to deal with failure, perseverance, getting up when I fail, discipline, integrity, representing a team, representing an organization. I had 15 years experience with this before I even got into the business world. Actually, like 18 or 19 years experience. So there's just so much sports, life skills that you get to start working on at an early age that are transferable. It's just really up to the athlete or that person to recognize that and transfer it when it's time to transfer it.
Yes, and I completely agree. I played sports, not that I played for that long, but I did play basketball in my previous lifetime. And so it definitely teaches you discipline, boundaries, and I'm super competitive just by nature in general. So I, I totally get the whole sports comparison when you're running a business. So I know you're working on a lot, but especially with Simply Noted, how do you balance work and your personal time?
That's another hard question. So I have a 6 and an 8 year old. So lucky, I was very fortunate to start this business when our children were young. So we have two children. They're in four sports. We're playing sports 6 days a week. I have to go take my daughter to gymnastics here in about an hour. But really, it's just managing your time. Everybody gets the same 24 hours in a day. I'm an early riser. I'm usually up by 4 a.m. So I get a couple hours of me time. And that's usually exercising or getting through some emails or doing some, finishing some stuff I didn't get done from the day before. But it's really just staying organized. But I have a really great support group from my family and my wife. And they give me the time that I need to focus, on my 9 to 5, which is growing this business. But I think that's something that we all struggle with, and that's something that's incredibly unique to our own experiences, but it really just comes down to time management and discipline, and those are things that we all have to continually to work on, doesn't matter if we're 15, 25, 35, or 65. We all have to master, discipline and time management skills.
Yes, the time management is tough. At least for me, I always talk about it, but time
What
blocking is what I use. So we have a lot of listeners that listen in regards to like, business management operations and all of that. From your experience in sports, what do you think what makes a great leader today?
I think leaders who lead by example, who have integrity, who don't only say, "Hey, do as I say, not as I do." I've always had a hard time following people that didn't lead by example. But it's the leaders that are out there with you doing the work every single day that get team to buy in. The leaders that just try to delegate everything and then crack the whip, those are the ones that have a hard time keeping people bought in and really excelling. Don't get me wrong, as your business grows, you got to delegate and you got to have people doing different jobs. It's really,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
but it's really being a part of the team. showing the team that you're in it, you're working hard too, getting their buy-in and their trust. And if you can do that, I mean, your team can move mountains. By yourself, you can go fast, but you won't go far. You have to go far together.
Yes, completely agree. How would you describe your leadership, how you manage your team?
I'm not a micromanager. This has probably been something I've struggled with is I give too much trust and probably notice issues later. But that's kind of the life of scaling a business. You're so busy, you have to give more trust, and sometimes you get burned. But I really think it's just setting clear expectations and just saying, "Hey, this is what I need you to do. Can you do it?" And then just make sure that you're keeping a finger on it. I try to check in. I have a Monday, Wednesday, Friday call, like all team call to keep a heartbeat on everything. I don't try to get inside their work, but I try to be aware and make sure things are moving forward. At the end of the day, to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to be a problem solver. And if problems aren't being solved by everybody, things can't move forward. So it's up to you to make sure that things are going forward and people are doing their jobs.
Yes, I agree with you. I think that's very similar as a business manager is the number one skill set is to learn to problem solve at that time right away, within that 24-hour of the issue. That's one thing I've learned being a business manager is just problem solving. They pretty much say, what is it? Dealing with fire
Yes,
drills.
it feels like every day is a fire drill sometimes.
Yeah. Do you have any advice for listeners out there? Like, if you're an athlete as well and you're looking to go into your own business after their career, what advice would you give them
So I
starting
think in
out?
order to be successful as an entrepreneur, you need to have a hard skill. And having soft skills or people skills is important in any job, but you got to have a hard skill. This is something I didn't learn until a few years into starting my business. But I was a sales and marketing guy, but I started a robotics engineering like software business, and I didn't have a robotics engineering or software co-founder. So I had to like figure this out on my own, but I didn't figure it out on my own. I just had to find people to help me figure it out. So if you're going to start a business, you got to make sure that you're bringing something to the table that's going to help that business grow. Whatever it is, you got to have a skill mastered or be really good at it. That's going to drive a lot of value to your business. And it can't just be one thing. I feel like, over the last 8 years of being a business owner, I always joke that I have like a PhD in problem solving. Like I can't do everything. I just find the people to solve the problems for me. But it definitely would have been a lot easier starting, this business if I had a software background or engineering background. So you can do it, right? But I don't recommend it. If you're going to start a business, just make sure whatever business you're starting, you're really good at it and you have a really good, hard, valuable skill that you can bring to the business.
Yes, I completely agree, especially from a technical perspective. I do think soft skills, I just wrote an episode on soft skills for business managers, so I that totally is spot on. I think soft skills are also important as far as like moving up in life as, if you're trying to climb up the ladder. But I get the hard skills because if you don't know the hard skills, you can't move into the soft skills
Yep.
at
I
all.
think soft skills are what's going to take you far in your career. But to get started early on, you're going to have that technical hard skill. But, that soft skill, being great at, relationship management, managing people, having empathy, those types of things, that's what's really going to help you build a business that scales.
Yes, completely agree. And what have you learned about yourself that you didn't know before? I feel like I'm just throwing you questions here,
Oh, no
Rick.
worries. Something, I mean, I think starting a business is one of the most fulfilling self growth journeys that anybody can go on because you're going to get exposed really fast. You're going to find out. I mean, think about this. When you're in a corporation or in a company, my stepdad shared this analogy with me right when I quit my W-2 job, and I had a really comfortable, like, well paying W-2 job. And he said, "Hey, like, you're on that dinghy now in the middle of the ocean, like everything's up to you." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "You're not on that like big cruise ship anymore where you had a team and everybody like, everybody had a different job to help you be successful. Now everything's on your own." And that's what it's like starting a business. Like you go from being on this big cruise ship to now you're on this solo dinghy boat by yourself and your survival is up to you. And in order to survive, you're going to have to get creative. You're going to have to grow. You're going to have to learn. You're going to have to evolve. And if you don't, bad things are going to happen. I think just the personal growth, I feel like I've gotten 40-year career out of this so far in the last 8 years, just of everything that I've learned. I think as I've really like grown in the last couple of years, is just like how to manage my stress. Stress will kill you. The sleepless nights is a real
Yes,
thing.
yes.
The worry is the real thing, and learning how to manage that. If you can't manage that, you're not going to be able to show up every day at your best. And it's up to you to show up for your team and your business every day at your best. I have a routine now. Physical fitness is really important to me. I have to exercise every day. I have to stretch before I go to bed. I jump in my ice bath every single day. That really zaps the stress away. If anybody is into cold therapy, it definitely does work for stress. I have to eat good. I can't drink alcohol. Alcohol jacks up my sleep. So like you figure this out as you age and you like are going through it. But I know what my recipe is. But that's me at 38. I'm sure it's going to change when I'm 45 and then when I'm 55. So life's a journey. It's constantly going to evolve as your life evolves, and you just got to evolve with it.
So you do an actual like ice bath. That's crazy. I've always wanted to know like what are the actual true benefits of that because every time I see it, I just
I just
cringe.
do it straight for stress reduction. Like I go in for just 2 minutes and then I dunk myself. The water is 39 degrees. And literally the second I go under and come up, like for an hour, it's like the most I mean, you're flooding your body with all these like good feeling hormones, like the dopamine and endorphins. Your body's not supposed to be submerged in 39-degree water, but there's a lot of health benefits to it. I don't care if people say it's like a woohoo voodoo science. It works for me, but it's up to everybody to figure out what works for them.
I haven't gone there yet, but I'm always curious because I see everyone doing it and completely agree with you. It's probably not normal to go in 39
No.
degree water there, but I've seen it. People do it. Mostly athletes I've seen. I've seen the David Beckham video where he goes in there and he dunks into the cold
Yeah.
water.
Yeah, I mean, that was more for recovery, but I'm not doing that anymore. That was a lifetime ago, it feels like, but that was more for like muscle soreness and like, recovery from a hard physical day. But now it's a hard mental day that I need a recovery from.
Sure, sure. So if you could go back and give yourself advice, like go back into when you started the business, what would you say right now?
Wow. In what part? I mean, you mean professionally, personally, yeah.
Probably probably
Well,
professionally.
I just know so much more
Professionally, yeah.
now, so I just know, like, getting this off the ground would be easier than it was. I was a first-time business owner and learning everything on the fly, so I would've made some, I wouldn't obviously, hindsight's 2020, right? But, I think just, like,
Yes.
how I would have approached it, uh, from, like, just getting my business online, starting marketing sooner, getting out of the business sooner. I tried to do everything for so long. And if there's any young entrepreneurs out there or just people who are trying to like move up in their careers, there's a good book called The E Myth by Michael E. Gerber. Doesn't matter if you own a business or you're trying to become a manager, like in order to grow, you got to get out of your business and work on your business. So if like you're an entrepreneur, you can't do everything. You got to hire people to help you scale. If you're a great sales rep, you got to figure out how to be a manager and manage sales reps. And what does that look like? So it's really just like, learning how to step away and work on the business and how to scale that way versus trying to be the person who does everything.
Yes, I think when you're starting a business, you are trying to do everything just on your own. Like you mentioned, it's you and the ocean alone. So it's that whole pressure of it. I feel like it is definitely harder to run your own business than it is, when you mention having a W-2,
Yep.
right? Just because that's on someone
Yep.
else. So people don't really think about that when they're starting a business.
No. And it's a rude awakening when you make that jump. When you don't get that direct deposit every 2 weeks, you're like, oh, if I need to pay a bill, I got to go out and make money. And that's
Yes.
a total mind shift. That is a total mind shift for anybody. It doesn't matter who it is. Going out there and having to create value, sell a product or service, collect on it, deliver on it, and then somehow make a profit and scale a business. Yeah, it's a doozy.
Yeah. Well, great for you. I mean, you're doing great with that and I'm sure you're looking ahead. So, we're going to go into more fun questions, but I am curious, where do you see Simply Noted in the next like 5 years or so? Typical interview question, but I'm just
Well,
curious.
I'm 100% sold on AI. So right now our main focus is adapting as much AI into the business. It's going to make us more scalable, more profitable. And we're trying to stay like, we've always tried to be like bleeding edge tech in this business. I mean, we've built and engineered and patented robots. So like now it's like, oh, AI is here. We need to now adjust for that. And I would advise anybody, it doesn't matter if you're an employee or run a business, is to start learning how to leverage AI. It's going to make you more valuable. And the people who don't use it are going to be, beat by the people who do use it. So I strongly suggest that. But really, my main focus now is like figuring out how to scale this business. I'm trying to build more systems, hire more people, improve processes. And it's just a puzzle. And that's what makes it fun is every day you walk in here and it's like, what do I need to do to make it better? And when you show up every single day and you do the work and then you look back 3 months later and see how far you've come, that's what's really rewarding when you're a business owner. Now, outside of seeing, how the business takes care of not only you, your employees' families, your families. It's really rewarding.
No, thank you. That makes sense. And I agree with you. I think AI right now, if you're not on the train has already left. So as cheesy as that
Yeah,
sounds.
I agree.
So I know as far as I don't know if you're doing any traveling or any of that sort because you have two kids and a full on business. But if you were to travel, where would you go right now?
Oh my gosh, I'm not a traveler. Yeah, no
Really?
way. Yeah, I like going to like U.S. locations. I don't know. I just feel like I don't have the travel bug. So I mean, I would go to like national parks. I'm an outdoors guy. I like hiking and mountain biking and hunting and that type of stuff and camping. Going to the beach. I grew up in California. I used to like beach camp all the time. For me, it's more about the people that are with you versus like the destination, if that makes sense. And I just I've been with my wife
Yes,
been with my
agreed.
wife for 19 years, met her my freshman year in college, and we have 2 young kids, and I'm just enjoying that time of our lives right now. They're 6 and 8, and I'm trying to soak up as much time and run a business, which is, it's hard, and I know in 10 years, it's gonna fly by, right? The last 8 years have already gone by in a blink. The next 10 will go by even faster. So I'm just really trying to enjoy the day, enjoy the process, and,
Yeah.
enjoy where I'm at.
No, completely understand. Completely understand. It's probably best to stay in the US right now
Yeah, I
anyways, but
know.
we won't we won't
I
go
know,
there.
it's just wild. The world is crazy.
Seriously. Well, I won't keep you too long, Rick. Thank you so much for being flexible with the podcast and everything. But I do have to ask every guest this question is if you were to describe your life journey in one word, what would it be? As cheesy as it sounds,
One
what would it
word?
be? Yes.
Unpredictable?
No, that's a great
Yeah.
word. I've had some really interesting words and some that I'm shocked about, but that's a
Yeah,
great
it's
word.
just
Unpredictable.
I have goals and I feel like a North Star, but it's been completely unpredictable as to, where I'm at today. And I think that's everybody's life. We all know where we wanna be, but how we get there, we can't predict. All we have to do is show up every single day, try to be a good person, do the right thing, work hard, not give up, be persistent, push through, and at the end of the day, if you stay consistent, you'll get there. But, everybody's journey is different. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's been predictably unpredictable.
No, great word. That's completely fine. I appreciate it. I appreciate your time as well. I know it was a little bit hectic and some sort of, chaos here, but thank you so much for being on a podcast. And I hope you at least enjoyed this short and sweet conversation that you had. And sorry to bombard you with question
Oh,
after
no, this
question
is
after
great.
question. I was just trying to get like the
Yeah,
meat of
this is
it.
great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Thank you so much, Rick. Okay. Have a good
Bye.
one.